Hello, this is Jennifer with Women Loving Jesus, and today we are on Proverbs 12:17. He who speaks truth declares righteousness, but a false witness deceit. Reviewing this proverb, we have two people. One person is declaring righteousness, and through that they are speaking truth, and another person is speaking deceit, and through that they are bearing false witness. So the righteous person has truth in their conversation because they are repeating things fairly. They are looking at it through love. They are looking at it through compassion, which is all of God, righteousness. Whereas the deceitful person may be focused on dishonesty, misrepresenting what is going on, and maybe has little tricks in their speech. This is really talking about behaviors of conversations and how you talk. And what we see with this verse, which I think brings application to our life, is that people will have patterns of communicating with others. Just as we can see that, people may have different accents depending on where you're from. I'm not a specialist in, understanding and following languages, but I've heard people talk about it. And you may train yourself to kind of take away some of that accent, but it can come out stronger with certain words depending on certain areas that you're from. And other words may not be as strong. Well, we can do the same thing. Underlying, we have this pattern of we bring in righteousness and truth in our speech, or are we bringing in deceitfulness, false witness? Remember, God is love and compassionate, and bringing truth sometimes doesn't mean that we're just going around and saying things like, you've gained 20 pounds, you're not looking good today. There's compassion and love in our truth, but we are trying to be fair. We are bringing about the things of God. Whereas a deceitful person, and I think this is where society has tried to minimize the things that are not of God, when really is what Satan wants. Is this idea that we have white lies, that we have to people please people, make people happy. Let me just not be completely honest. Let me be deceitful so I can make that person happy. And they're not upset. So I may not tell the truth, or I may hide it, or there's this trickery of it. I'm going to be a little bit dishonest. And we can justify that in many ways. Well, that is a language that is bearing false witness. And when we look at the Bible, God has a lot about saying against being a false witness against others. And what happens is over time we start developing this in our language, just like an accent. If you live somewhere a long time, you start developing something maybe in your accent. Over time, there will be more acceptance of the deceitful, false witness. And before you know it, it's really to the point of, you are manipulating, lying, and you're justifying it, saying it's good, which God is saying, this isn't of me. Over time, we have to practice to speak truth, fairness, compassion, God's truth, not our own. And that will bring itself of a habit. And what will happen is people will be able to recognize from our speech and our patterns whether we are from God or not of God. Now, one more thing really quickly, just like you can see people out there who are really good at mimicking other people's accents and sound like they're from a place, what I have found is Satan likes to copy God, and he will mimic people who will say things that sound like God to try to make them feel like they're righteous. They're trying to speak truth, but righteousness is not there. And this is once again where we have to pray to God to find that spirit of discernment, because their spirit cannot be copied. Their spirit will not be of God. And so even though they're saying the right things, they've learned how to really try to speak like someone who has righteousness. They are not. So we always don't just look at the speech. We also have to look at the spirit. The spirit only comes from praying to God, and God's shown that to us. I thank you for listening, and I pray that this scripture has helped you today.